All right, so I just realized yesterday that we are talking about this wildlife stuff, and I never told you guys what is the difference between a prime lens and a zoom lens. So let's talk about it. What is it, everyone? Chris here. Welcome back to the channel, and another day, another video. Today we're talking about zoom lenses versus prime lenses, and that makes this conversation a little bit awkward because I don't really have the equivalent of a 600mm prime lens. This is a 300mm prime lens. This is a 600mm zoom. So it's a little bit weird to talk about it because I'm gonna basically contradict myself in some stuff based on the visual expectations. And though that might sound a little bit weird, let's get into it and talk a little bit about what it means to photograph with a zoom lens or a prime lens. And first thing that comes to mind is why zoom, why prime, why would you choose between the two? And if we're talking about that, we probably need to start first with the technical part, let's say the specifications. A zoom lens is usually smaller, and I already told you that I'm going to contradict myself, but stay with me because it makes sense. So a zoom lens, it's usually smaller than the equivalent prime lens. That's not the case with my lenses because this one is a shorter lens. This is a 600, this is a 300. I already explained it to you. But the prime lenses are usually bigger, heavier, more heftier than the zoom lenses. They don't extend, so that makes them a little bit hard to carry, especially if you're traveling. While the zoom lens, most of them have an extension, which means the lens extends when you're zooming in or out, and that makes the zoom lenses easier to carry. This one, on the other side, is an exception from the rule. This one doesn't extend. This is the lens that you're getting. It's like a prime lens, literally. And this is exactly what you're getting when you put it in your case. It doesn't go up or down. It doesn't make it longer. That has a internal zoom. And that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing because you avoid getting dust and moisture in the lens. Every time you are extending the lens, the moisture and dust accumulates on the barrel that basically goes up and down or forward and back. And that moisture and dust goes into the lens, and you might get fungus, you might get dust on the internal glass, and that's very hard to clear. But this one doesn't, so that is a good thing. Well, prime lenses never extend. They're just what they are. You will always get what you're seeing, and this is a 300mm that is almost as big as my 24-70 that I'm shooting this video on. So yeah, this is a small one. The usual wildlife prime lens, it's, let's say, a 500, 600, 800mm lenses, and those are pretty chunky. A 600mm f4, so the equivalent of this aperture on this lens, it's probably another maybe foot or close to a foot, maybe another 8 inches of this 600mm. It's pretty heavy, way heavier than this one, which already weighs around 5 pounds, and that is a lot of weight if you're thinking of it. But the 600 f4s, the 500 f4s, they're bigger, more chunkier primes, and they weigh over 7 pounds. And I mean, it depends. It depends on you. It depends on your style of shooting. I like to run and gun. I like to photograph handheld. I don't like tripods. I use tripods and monopods and gimbals if I need to, if I'm in a hide, or if I'm just static somewhere in a spot that, I don't know, I'm waiting for something to come and get it in the frame. But usually I'm on a trail, I am in a wildlife reservation, I'm on a mountain, somewhere where I can just walk and capture images of wildlife. So I think somehow for me, the zoom works better because they're not that big, not that heavy. Now, I am fortunate to have this 300mm f4, which on the Z52 makes it around 420. And if I'm adding the teleconverter, it would make the lens around 500 plus, almost 600mm. So yeah, that's a great thing. Now, the second comparison attribute is the image quality, and it's well known, and I would say these days a myth, that the prime lenses are better in terms of sharpness. The image quality, it's better on a prime than is on a zoom. And while I am pretty aware of that, and I told you when in my editing video that this lens, it's a bit sharper than this one, that's not always the case. Old lenses tend to be less sharper than the new lenses. This is an F mount, this is an 180-600 Z mount. So for me to use this one on the Z8, I have to adapt it through the FTZ adapter, the first or the second generation, doesn't matter. And also, because it's a short lens, I have to use a teleconverter to basically reach my subject and have it bigger in the frame. That degrades the image quality, and while this lens, it's very sharp, wide open, I believe that the 180-600 shot properly, and if you're taking time, I believe that this lens, it's, if not exactly the same, maybe a bit sharper sometimes. And it's because the technology in these new lenses are obviously better than this one. I think this one was released in 2010, something like that, maybe earlier. This one was released a couple of years ago. So that's a debate, if you ask me. I would say that primes are always sharper than the zooms, and I'm talking about the big primes, the 600 f4, the 500 f4, the 300 2.8, the 400 f4.5 for Nikon. They tend to be sharper than the zoom lenses. But that pushes me to the third point in this conversation, which is price. Now, you might be deceived by the fact that this lens is small and old, and I don't know, it's an F mount. Well, this lens these days tends to cost around $800 to $1,200 depending on the condition. I paid around $900 for mine, and it was in mint condition. And that is not a price that you were expecting to pay for a lens that's almost 20 years old. While this one, it's around $2,000, and it's a new lens with new technology, and probably, like I said, and I stand behind what I said, probably one of the best budget zoom lenses for Nikon system. And I know Fujifilm, I know Sony, I know Canon has budget lenses, but this one, it's a great lens with a lot of reach, around 600, with no teleconverter, and you can use teleconverter on it, and it's gonna maintain the quality, at least with the 1.4. From what I've heard, I'm gonna get one, like I said in the past, to just have it in case I need that 800mm range. But this one, it's 2000. This one, it's half the price, and it's smaller, it's just 300 millimeters. If I would to buy the 600 millimeter f6.3, I think, that will set me back around $4,000. So that's not a cheap lens at all, while this one is, and the image quality, at least to start with, and dip your feet in the wildlife ocean, this is a great lens. So the price, it's obviously in the zoom's favor. The primes are always a little bit more expensive. They tend to be more expensive because the way they are built and the glass that it's inside, the fact that there are no moving parts, some might say that it will help reduce the price. It is true, it should, but the glass that it's used in these lenses and the way the elements are arranged, it's literally a masterpiece. And to do that requires more work, more finesse. That's why these lenses are definitely more expensive, as well as the fact that the glass in, for example, the 600 millimeter, I think the front element is around 112 or 120 millimeters, so it's a huge glass. All those things are more expensive, and compared in quality, I would say the primes are better, but I would never throw a zoom, especially the new ones, away or put it on the back burner just because it's a zoom lens. If you don't have the money to invest in a prime lens, a long one, like I didn't when I started, I think that you will be able to find on the second market a 300 millimeter, a 200 millimeter, a 400 millimeter, older versions of the lenses or the mounts that are on the market right now, and with an adapter you will be able to capture amazing images. Actually, I do have a 200 millimeter f4 lens that is behind that camera that films me right now, that gave me some amazing images, and there is no slouch. I'm just not joking. It's a manual lens. It takes a little bit more to work with, but I guarantee you that if you get a good lens that doesn't have fungus and, you know, moisture inside and dust, you will be able to capture amazing photos for a pretty good price, around $200-300 for the long ones. And there are a lot of old lenses. And I know I'm talking about Nikon right now because I know Nikon, and but I'm sure that other brands like Sony and Canon, they do. Canon for sure have, because they had an amazing DSLR lineup and of lenses, and all the 500s and 600s. Somebody's backing up, and they're gone. There are a lot of old photographers, not old necessarily in age, but shooting for a long time, that are still using their F-mount or EF mount lenses on their mirrorless cameras with a lot of success. Now, we talked about the image quality, we talked about the specifications or the technicalities, we talked about the price. What else can make a difference between these two lenses? And I would say, to me, it's the practicality of having these lenses. And what is more practical to carry, a huge prime lens? Again, this is not the case, but a big 600mm f4 lens or 500mm f4 lens or 800mm lens, or this 180-600 that covers a long range and also gives you a great image quality. And this is not the only one. Most of the 100-400s and 200-600 lenses these days are pretty good in terms of sharpness and image quality and rendition and all that. So for me, this is more practical. I love my prime lens because it's small, and I will keep it. I will never sell this lens because this is probably the best walk-around lens. If I'm adding the teleconverter on and put it on the Z50 Mark II, I am getting the reach of this lens, and the difference in weight and, you know, let's see, portability, it's huge. And even with the converters and the FTC adapter, it's still smaller. So that's what I'm thinking about zoom and prime lenses. There are probably a lot more to say about these two. There is definitely a huge debate online of what to start with. I would say do not invest in a great, amazing body and look for a great lens. Like I said, old EF, F-mount lenses, Minolta for Sony, if you get some. And even if it's a little bit more work to get the image in focus or to literally track the subject, do it. And you're gonna learn more about wildlife, you're gonna take your time and compose better, and you're gonna have a great lens with great image quality that for the money that you're paying now, you're probably never gonna sell it. If you have the money, go straight to that, the greatest body ever, and you're gonna be pleased. But if you don't, and if you wanna start slow and enjoy wildlife and enjoy being outside, I don't think that a manual lens like the one that I made a review in the past, the TT Artisan, the 500mm f5.6 or 6.3, this lens that won't break the bank, and there are many out there, all lenses, will definitely please you, will definitely give you what you need, at least in the beginning, and you're gonna enjoy shooting wildlife. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'm repeating this over and over again, though I said I won't do it. Please give these videos a thumbs up. It's so important for the algorithm and for people to be drawn to this channel, because we always have fun here. As you can tell, I'm not scripting anything. I'm just talking from knowledge and from my heart. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.